It's a good aroma. Oh, that is delicious. This won't be very long till this one's gone. Hey, Life Boss, what do you think? Okay, so on today's agenda, I'm going to be making this VineCo Moscato California kit, which I've made before. It was actually the first kit of wine I ever made. Me and the wife quite liked it. There's actually only 3 bottles left that we had to force ourselves to age before we're going to enjoy the rest of it. But I'm going to change a couple things. And I only want to do one change, but it kind of leads to me making 2 changes. Whatever. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to be taking a product called Go-Firm, and I'm going to be adding this along with changing up the yeast to a Lavlin 74B, I think. So I'm going to end up changing that yeast over to the Lavlin D47. So we're going to give that a go and see what that ends up doing to the flavor, if it ends up improving the wine or making it worse. Kind of just want to experiment and see what I can do to make different wines. So I've kind of loosely have everything set up here, or have all the supplies that I need. So let's get that started and get that primary going. So like any kit that I'm going to do, I'm going to take my bentonite first, the bentonite clay. I've got some water in the microwave right now that's kind of heating up, and we'll get this stuff in there. We'll get it dissolved. I'll give that, I don't know, try to give it at least 30 minutes to kind of expand the bentonite, and keep shaking that solution kind of as I go, just to keep that loosened up. Now you can see those clumps in the bottom, and that's kind of what you don't want. Now this also works a lot better in a quart jar. I can see it's not working as good as it normally does. Now as you can see, I got a couple of chunks. I'm going to toss them back in here with some more hot water. We're going to get rid of those. Now in the meantime, I'm just going to take and keep adding water into this slurry here and seeing if I can get that dissolved nicely. There's a lesson learned right there for me. I'm not following my own bentonite method. Just less water, otherwise everything else the same, and it's not mixing up the way it should. I'll leave a card up on the top of how to actually do it the right way. So let's start getting that primary ready to go. Still some chunks, so definitely follow my method that I normally use, not what I did here today. This is, however, not the end of the world, so I'm going to continue on adding the juice. Now you'll notice there's quite a bit of goodness left in the bag here, so I'll just take and fill this up with reverse osmosis water, give it a good swish, and get this bag totally cleaned up so I get all that inside there. That's pretty good. We'll give it one more good swish, and hopefully that does the trick, cleans it up. And with tradition, always make a little bit of a mess, just to give yourself some cleanup later on. 2 good swishes, and this bag is very clean. All the stuff is now inside my primary, so that'll work for me. I'll also take, and anytime I'm waiting for the reverse osmosis to catch up, I'll always put a lid on top with the bung or the airlock, just because I don't need the odd fruit fly finding his way into the batch. I'm also going to take and get that yeast ready with some Go-Firm. If you want to see that whole video on how I mix up the Go-Firm and use that to rehydrate the D47 yeast before it goes into the must, I will leave a card at the top of the video here and show you how to do that, or show you how I did that. And this, of course, based on the Scott Labs instructions. I'm not just coming up with this stuff for myself. I will be following the manufacturer's recommendations for this. This kind of has a bread-like smell. It smells really good, actually. Both the yeast and the must. This is, I'm hoping it's going to turn out as good, or any fraction of as good as it smells right now. Okay, so I've got my primary filled up to the, whatever the 6-gallon mark, or the mark that I need to fill up my carboy. So I'll take and drop in the hydrometer and get that reading. Okay, so another 5 minutes has gone by for the Go-Firm and that yeast solution with the must. So I'll get my spoon into the solution. I'll give my primary a good stir up. and then we're going to mix the yeast in. So there's my yeast solution. And it is within 5 to 10 degrees of the must. So give it a little swoosh. Make sure I get everything in there. And because this thing was clean, I don't mind giving it a rinse. Just a gentle stir here, nothing vigorous. And that is it. Now my lid can go on here as well. And it's going to go into or on top of this floor, just around the corner. And we'll let it start to ferment. Day 15, on to clearing. The only two things you're going to need in this step here are the reserve juice and the Cheeto sand. I always like to use a funnel, and I do cut the corner off of the reserve juice. I find it pours a heck of a lot easier than trying to use the little plastic tabs that they've got on there. Now I just realized I didn't get a video of me putting the Cheeto sand in there, but it's at the same time. I just put the two in. I stir it up really good after the reserve is in, and the Cheeto sand went in right after. Now here I'll stir for a whole heck of a lot longer than what I show on the video. It's just to make sure that this wine is properly degassed. And then I also spin it up pretty good before I put my Cheeto sand in. I don't know if that's mandatory or not, but I feel like it kind of gets diluted in the juice a little bit better. On to day number 28, polish racking. At this point in time, I've twisted the carboy somewhere in between here, and I've got a nice kind of yeast cake or yeast layer at the bottom. I did find a spot there where it was pretty close to the bottom, so I just put the siphon there, and I felt like I got most of the juice and the wine out of there. And I'm pretty happy with that. Nice clean carboy here for the polish phase of this. On day number 30 here, I'm adding Camden tablets. Now this is an optional step. This is in the VineCo instructions, and this is just something they recommend for long-term aging, which I don't know if we'll do, but it's nice to have the option. So I'm going to go ahead here and add 4 Camden tablets as per the instructions listed with the kit. Give it a good stir and put the lid back on, or put the airlock back on, I guess. As you can see, after I stirred it up, you can kind of see the Camden tablets dissolving in the wine. And I also did feel like there were some bubbles, so I took my vacuum sealer onto a bung at the top and siphoned it down. And sure enough, I was getting quite a bit of bubblage going on. And this is where I noticed, if I put the airlock back on, very, very slowly, it looked like there was still some activity happening. So I did what anybody would do when they're making wine, and I panicked, went into an immediate try to recover, put this thing outside in the garage, try to cold crash it, add potassium sorbate as soon as I got it down to temperature. There's more listed on that. There's a video up top of exactly what I tried to do there to get this wine to stop fermenting. Unfortunately, that did not work for me either. Turns out the solution for me was just to leave it alone and go on holidays. We ended up returning on day 58 after our holidays were done, and fermentation had stopped, wine had cleared, a little bit of sediment, just a little bit like a dusting of stuff on the bottom, but it quit fermenting and it looked to me like it was done. I was still a little bit nervous here. I set up my whole bottling station like I normally do, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a little apprehensive that I was gonna be making some bottle bombs. Whatever. There was no signs of any fermentation happening, so I asked the person that was house sitting. They said they didn't hear any bubbling, and I figured, you know what? Let's just go to bottling. Let's go to tasting and kind of see how it works out from here. My wife did end up helping me kind of set this up. You can kind of see her behind me there in the corner, trying to stay out of video range. She hates being on camera. But anyway, I did bottle this with her help this time around. The bottling and the corking, I do that by myself, and she helps by putting caps on, moving bottles around, and getting it ready for the shrink cap stage when that's all said and done. It's quite easily doable by yourself as long as you have like a good setup and a good organization. Have the corks, everything close by, bottles very close by. It's definitely doable. I've done it myself a couple of times, but it's always nice when she's around to give me a hand as well. We did get these things bottled up pretty quick, and there was nothing crazy that happened in the bottling phase. I wasn't sure if it was going to start bubbling or doing anything, so like I said again, a little bit apprehensive here. Not sure exactly what to expect. I've never had a fermentation restart. Granted, I am new to this hobby, but I was still a little bit nervous about seeing something here, and I'm very happy that there was nothing new that I had to kind of deal with on the fly. Clarity of the wine and everything is really good. Bottle it up. There was the first initial bottle did have a tiny little bit of sediment, and that's just because I put the siphon right to the bottom of the carboy. It could easily be avoided, but we usually drink a bottle or two of the wine right after we make it anyway. You can see kind of the leftover at the bottom of the carboy's got a little bit of sediment, and the bottles to the side, if I see any sediment, I kind of put those to the side. Those are the ones we'll drink first, and then we'll leave the clearest bottles to age out. The red shrink caps, all of the colors seem to be a little bit different on how they shrink, but the red ones seem to be a little bit more difficult, need a little bit more time in the boiling water to get them all shrank on nicely. Here you can see the good bottles, they just need a wipe down. There's still a little bit of condensation on them, but clarity is clean and it all looks good. Nothing left to do, but this is what's left over at the bottom of the carboy, so let's give her a shot and see if it tastes like wine or if it tastes like diesel fuel. It's a good aroma. Oh, that is delicious. This won't be very long till this one's gone. Hey, Life Boss, what do you think? She'll be at this one in a hurry. Trust me on that one. This is a very good wine. This turns out very, very well with the additions. Despite the fermentation starting back up on me, it's none too sweet. It's none too anything. If you like Moscatos, highly recommend the modification on the kit. It is an improvement. It's quite lovely. Oh, that's good. It doesn't need any age or nothing. This is Kool-Aid. This is just fantastic. Hope you guys enjoy. So you'll notice my wine glass is gone. She's already confiscated that. Anyway, a couple of mods I would do if I did this kit again. And that's just to give it a little bit more time after the potassium metabisulfate and the stabilizer is added. I'd maybe give it another day or two. And I might give it another half a teaspoon just to make sure that yeast is dormant before I would go ahead and back sweeten it. That's I think what I'm going to end up doing with this kit the next time around, just to make sure it doesn't start back up. I'm really glad to see it's still a success.